Hello, friends, neighbors. I'm John, your whiskey neighbor here. Welcome down to the Nook. It's Saturday, and we're just about back at work, but not yet. And I thought, what better thing to do than to drink a little nice scotch this weekend and savor every last minute. So, nice scotch for me is 18-year-old scotch is pretty good. Now, age stamps should be a whole series I should shoot. I'm not a huge believer in it's got to have age on it, but when you keep a scotch around for 18 plus years, it does generally pick up a little interesting aged wood note. And if you like that, it's tough to get it in younger stuff. This is Bowmore Deep Complex. I'm going to throw it in with my Is 18-Year-Old Worth It series. It's not a big series because I don't buy a lot of them. But I've shot this regular 18 and I've shot this against like the previous release about 6 years ago, because Bowmore gets beat up online a lot by that their cask management's really fallen away, that their quality's gone down, and I can taste that in their entrance stuff. Maybe I just didn't have a lot of 18. This isn't bad. It's just it's priced too much. It used to be a value 18, and now it's too high. But I'm curious, this Deep Complex, this release here, it's a travel exclusive. It's 700, not 750. Mentions PX aging, and I've seen some reviews of it. I've heard, I've read, and it seems like maybe that PX does have a difference. So pour a little 18-year-old scotch. If you've got it, post some more. If you do, that's even better. And let's taste these. I have not done this comparison yet. The Deep Complex against the regular 18. 3, 4. Okay, we're back. It's Saturday. We're in the Nook. It's been a moment. It's been a great, great holiday. I hope you also have had a good Christmas holiday, but routine has not been reestablished. So, Bowmore 18, it's on Isla. It is peated, but it's not a peat monster. I think that's, first of all, one of the knocks, right? It's not the level of Ardbeg. It's not the level of Lafroig for sure. Certainly not with medicinal. And, they're colored and chill filtered, which is, I just wish they'd get away from that somehow. I think we'd have a little better opportunity, thinking that they're a bit more of a quality house, if they released at least some of their stuff to get a sense. Like right now, I don't know if you can see this, but the Deep Complex is a darker color. And since I believe they're regulars like bourbon and Oloroso, and this is probably some bourbon, but it's Oloroso and PX, it should be darker. There's different sherry, there's 2 different types of sherry, but it's all a lie because it's colored. The industry has to fix that. Anyways, back on here, let's just check out this 18-year-old Deep Complex. Is it any good? Is it Deep Complex? Is it worth finding? I know travel retail, every now and then you can find them, at least in my market now, in the market. Like, I don't know, maybe they're not selling well, but let's try this on the nose. Sweeter, full, lots of sugar, light cocoa already, or light chocolate, and that especially with just that light peat in there, it's just a little earthy. It's a little grainy, not grainy, but darker. It's not peaty like briny right now on the nose. It's not peated like old ashtray. It's just more earthy. I'm just going to do a direct comparison to the regular 18. Okay, now that is sweeter, more almonds, sweet nuts. It's interesting because PX is a sweeter sherry by far, and usually PX stuff is sweeter. But here, there's just a higher percentage of bourbon. It was sweet toffee type sweet. It's a good nose. I'm a bit of a sucker for peat and sherry. I'm a sucker for any good whiskey, but just that combination, that sweet Christmas cake, and then it's tumbling into earthy, smoldery, a little bit of dried fruit already, a little bit pithier fruits, because that peat. We'll see how it opens when the palate gets involved. Now that last, just right there at the end, it was actually getting a little more ashtray, a little more smoky, that kind of thing. Okay, Deep Complex, Bowmore 18. Actually, haven't had it yet, and certainly haven't compared it against this 18. Thanks again, James, for bringing it down to the Nook. Let's try it on the palate, Sancha. That holds together really well. It is, wow. There is a second layer that already spoke, and now I got to try to forget that because up front it was almost slightly creamy. It's pretty gentle at 43. It was a little more sweet berries, a little bit more sweet, like that kind of sherry, right? So you've got that richness, fruitiness. But there's a second layer that I'm going to have to go in and chase. A second layer of ginger snap cookie, of terry crack open orange chocolate, a little bit of orange citrus, and a bready crumble something. Like there's a whole second, like when I say second layer, for me it's like, you know, I'm first sipping and then you get a half a dozen flavors that come to mind. And then as I'm thinking of how to identify those, and then a whole bunch of other flavors suddenly spring from the palate. That's exactly what happened in this sip. I'm gonna have to try it again to see how they go together, if they remain like a second wave. Let's get in there, Sancha. Interesting that on the second sip, it wasn't as distinct a shift. Now, some of that, you know, the orange and ginger, the ginger might have been on the first round, but like they're really just now kind of playing together. And now it's a mix of sweet up front, really sweet, sugared sweetness. It's got to be the PX, like candied sweetness, candied. You know what? I was in Korea and I had these strawberries that were dipped in like a candy crack. A little bit like that. Not quite that sweet, but that interplay of some sugar and some berry sweet. And then the whole second wave of spices mixed in with just that. Cooking spices, little nutmegs, little, it's not quite clove, like we're not in bacon territory. You're not going to get that in a Bowmore, but it's got a little bit of that savory black pepper, slight clove, little bit of almost bay leaf in the soup, you know, like, I mean, that sounds crazy, but that's what I'm trying to get at, what that second wave was. The longer I talk to you, it's interesting. The finish right now, very end, long finish, is a little chalky. It's a little ashy, and it's a little bit surprising, because Bowmore for me is just not heavily peated. And so where I am right now is a long finish that talks more about peat than I usually get from Bowmore. It's ashy, it's dry wood on the long finish. Let's see how it stacks up against the regular 18. So I shot them that because I wanted this to be the feature. The Deep Complex I've never had. The Bowmore 18, this one I believe I've reviewed with you like 3 times or 4 in this is 18-year-old Scotch worth it category. So I should know this one. I should know how it tastes, and you've heard how I like it before. So as I understand it, this is ex-bourbon and ex-Oloroso sherry. It's also 43%. It's a bigger bottle. They really make it just hair different. You can't really see the 700 versus the 750, but this is the true 750. But as I said, 43 and colored and chill filtered, so lots of lies going on in here. Let's try this on the nose. So whether it's a higher proportion or just the PX makes a difference, it does have so much more bourbon in it. This remains a mix of sherries and dark chocolates on the nose with some smoke. Now coming back, as I said, PX is a sweet sherry, but this is sweet, but sweet like toffee. I'm definitely getting a more toffee notes on the nose. Let's try this one on the palate. Saja. somehow this is lighter. This is little clearer across the palate. Doesn't coat as much. Really drinks into its 43. Like if you told me this was 40, I would probably think it was 40. Like it drinks lighter, cleaner, a little more into light oaks. There are fruits. I mean, it's an Oloroso sherry, but especially coming after this, it's very light, little bit of jam on the toast, but lots more toast. I'm gonna try another sip, Sancha. Clean again. Here I've got some nuts, a little bit of almonds in there, and little bit of slivered, cracked open walnut, which means it's a little bit bitter. For me, when I go off of sweeter almond and I get into walnut, it's huskier, but it is a little more bitter. And this is playing a little more bitter. It's a little more cracked pepper now in the longer finished, a little more smoke and ash on the back end. I know I got there, I talked a lot about it there, but because it was a surprising third act or far finish or whatever I was counting, this one, it comes up a lot faster. So I've said to you before, that Bowmore gets beat up online, and I do believe it's a lot for its coloration and chill filtering, and that there are some crackers 10 years ago that just doesn't seem to come out. So hopefully they're going to get back into that with some better cask management. That's, I'm assuming, what it is. I'm sure their distilling is going just the same way it's gone for a long time. I've said to you before that I like this. I actually picked up, this 18-year-old bottle for an absolute crime of a steal. And if you see it on the shelf these days for $80, yeah, I mean, I'd just buy it. Now, you're not getting that unless you're getting a Kirkland Scotch, and I should shoot this against the 17 that I have recently, because they're very similar in age, and then just say like, hey, the Kirkland you can still get for 86 or so, and this you can't. This is now way up to 150, which, if I'm going to pay 150, let's go all the way over to the new one here. This one is better. This one is more layered. This one has different sherries. It has all the components that this is. I think you would know that you're drinking the same Bowmore, in the sense that the fruit, mid palate chocolates, end palate kind of ashtray. Like, I think that would drive out with this one as well. But this one has just better flavors. It really, really does. Which is interesting, because I'm pretty sure I gave this one a 4 stars, which is a pretty good rating for me these days. So in this contrast, then I got to give this like 4 1/4. Like, this is really, really good. If that's my base, this has to be more. Whoops. Good thing the cap's on there. Anyways, that's just my thoughts. I'm drinking them here first with you on this last weekend of a holiday. I hope you had a great break with friends and family, if that was in the cards. And if you had to work through the whole end of December, well, I hope you get at least a good weekend to raise a decent dram. And both of these are decent. I stand behind. I enjoy the Bowmore 18. Is it worth 150 Canadian in my? And I want to say no. At $100, that's a really good dram. This Deep Complex, this is worth more. I just struggle to pay more than about $100. But if these both were on the shelf, try out the Deep Complex if you like sherried and light peat. Have a great week.